everyone, I'm Heidi Fang here with another episode of Fantasy Outlaws, joined today with Ed Graney, a Review Journal sports columnist, and Adam Hill, taking care of everything Golden Knights and MMA here for the Review Journal. And today we've got a great show lined up because we're going to give you the picks that you need to be able to stay alive in your fantasy games and get all the players in order on your lineup because, let's face it, there's a lot of injuries already week one. We've got like Tyler Lockett probably being a good option with Doug Baldwin being doubtful. Deshaun Jackson's another guy who had a big week last week, and I noticed that he's only like 42% owned, and that's up already 17% since last week. Rex Burkhead has a concussion, so maybe James White might be an option in a lot of formats, especially deep ones. But for me, I'm going to go with TJ Yeldon because Leonard Fournette is nursing a hamstring issue, and he even said himself that he's a game time decision. So even if he does play, I think he's going to see less reps. Maybe Yeldon gets like 15 plus carries or so, and that's going to make him a really viable option. But the only thing is they're playing the Patriots, so they're going to have to keep it close for the running back to see a lot of work. I want to know, first of all, what you guys think about the waiver wire this week, how much action there is on it, and who you're picking to really stand out. Adam?
Well, you talk about TJ Yeldon, and I think that's a guy you need to own. Even if it's not for this week, even if Fournette plays, you've got to have him because Fournette is a guy who's always hurt, and he's always a game-time decision. He's always questionable. If you have Fournette, you need to have Yeldon, that's for sure. You mentioned with Doug Baldwin being out, and everybody's looking at Tyler Lockett. I'm going to go with my fantasy waiver wire pickup this week as Brandon Marshall because he's old, he can't get open, he's slow. I don't know what's going on with him, but I've always loved him. He's got great hands. He will find a way to work in the red zone with Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson needs that red zone. He needs that guy that he can go to because we know that, Doug Baldwin's a reliable guy for him, but he's out, and then Jimmy Graham is gone, and that's who he used to look to in the red zone. So Brandon Marshall in the red zone, he's the guy to pick up this week.
Ed, who do you got?
I have nothing in terms of what's happening at this point because let's go through this. One, I played you last week in our league, and I think your team is still scoring because I lost you at 190 points, and I don't think you've stopped scoring. Two, Adam's right. If you have Fournette, which I do have him because he is always hurt because that's the kind of team I have this year, you need Yeldon. And the person who beat me by 100 points, you also picked up Yeldon, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I'm getting killed either way here, but I will tell you that my waiver pick this week is Jared Cook of the Raiders. I was there at the game. You were there at the game. We saw what he did, set a franchise record for receiving. If you had Delaney Walker, right here. You can see how my season's going. If you had Greg Olsen, all of a sudden Jared Cook is a guy who now astoundingly has the franchise receiving record for three different teams. St. Louis, when they were there, Tennessee, and now the Raiders. And the guy's really good one-on-one against linebackers, probably one of the best. You take away Gronk, and maybe people say Ertz, but I think he's as good as anyone against a linebacker. And let's be honest, that Raiders offense was so bad last week.
Hobbling.
I think, and I know they've brought back receivers and they've made some moves this week, but I still think that you go to the well until it proves otherwise. And if I'm Derek Carr this week and the guy had 180 for me, I'm going to go back to him at least early in the game at Denver and see if he can still do, Denver's a good defense as the Rams were. I'd go back to Jared Cook, so that's my waiver pickup. But you can't have him, obviously, because someone in our league else has them. So that's one person you can't have.
Yeah, and my tight end right now, Jimmy Graham, kind of looking for other options when I can. So, again, we're going to keep you up to date with all the waiver wire advice. And for now, we also have some breakout advice, who we think is going to stand out. Adam had the pick for the stud of the week last week with James Conner. James Conner
Good
busted
pick,
through.
Yeah. He was all right.
So
now, if you still have him, stick with him. Obviously, that's the guy. I'm going to go off the board here. This is going to be interesting. I'm going Chargers defense. And here's why. A lot of people got off the bandwagon last week because they got lit up. But they are a very good defense. They have playmakers. And guess what? Josh Allen stinks. He's terrible. He's going to turn the ball over 6 times. Pick up the Chargers defense. If somebody let him go or somebody streaming in your league, get the Chargers defense right now. They break out this week.
You even think with Joey Bosa out?
No problem. It's Josh Allen. We could make him turn the ball over.
It'd be a really good pickup there. Once again, I have them. The Saints defense, they were good last week. I think Tampa Bay's still scoring against them, but I like that pick there with the Chargers. Josh Allen, not good.
It's funny you mentioned the Saints because I'm going to be picking against them for my breakout. I'm going with Jarvis Landry because I think that the Saints D seem to have regressed. They looked a lot like their 2016 season as opposed to their 2017 season. So that's who I have standing out, Jarvis Landry. Ed, who do you got?
I have Jared. Well, first of all, let's be honest. If I was able to do this a day earlier, I would have picked A.J. Green. Now, I'm playing this week our intrepid director, producer, All Things Genius Video, Larry Meir, who is watching this right now. Larry, I'm sorry. I think I'm up with like 27 points now with A.J. Green.
I think he's 0-1 after playing me last week.
Well, Larry's struggling even more so than my team. I would pick Jared Goff. Look, I know about Patrick Peterson. I know about Chandler Jones, but Arizona did not look good last week at home against Washington. Now they go on the road to a team that can really score. This is not often that Adam and I are completely on the same page, but we're on the same page with Jared Goff. I think it's all Sean McVay, but that doesn't really matter. I think he puts that guy in a lot of great positions. I think Gurley's terrific. Goff's not going to throw for like 350 and 5 probably, but he's kind of that 253 to 4 guy, and I think at home they're going to score a lot of points. Now, maybe it was just the Raiders were that bad last week in the fourth quarter. I just think the Rams are really, really good, and I think given Gurley and who he can throw to with Kupp and Cooks and all those guys, I think Jared Goff has a huge game this week. I think there's a reason they're favored by more than 12.
All right, there you have it. So now let's go to the flip side of all the happy who's going to have a great week stuff and see who's going to really bust. For me, I'm going with the Titans running back Derrick Henry. He was almost non-existent in the first week. Seemed like Deion Lewis took over his job, and a lot of people jumped on Derrick Henry real early. So for those owners,
he's on my team too. What's with the show? It's a disaster. I won't win a game unless I'm playing Larry Meir. It's horrible this year.
So
every one you people have mentioned as busts are on my team.
Who's your big buzz? Who are you picking?
Russell Wilson.
Is there someone on your team?
No, I don't have Russell
Wilson. There you go.
I'm picking Russell Wilson because he probably won't have Doug Baldwin, and let's be honest, Khalil Mack and that a couple of those defensive linemen with him didn't even have training camp. So you saw what they did to Rodgers for 3 quarters. So and I know Russell Wilson is a guy who can make plays other ways, but Doug Baldwin's a big loss. I know Brandon Marshall he likes. You like Tyler Lockett, and maybe they'll make some plays for him. But I think the bust is Russell Wilson this week. Back-to-back road games to start for the Seahawks. That's hard. And I think last week was a tough loss for them because I think they thought they'd win. I don't think anyone thought Denver was any good. I still don't know if they are. But I think the Bears have a good shot this week, and I think Russell struggles.
I'm going to go off the board a little bit again. You have to play him. Obviously, it's tough to sit him on the bench, but if you're looking at daily lineups or you have any other options, don't play Gronk this week. And here's why. Jalen Ramsey talked a lot this offseason about Gronk. This rivalry is heating up. Jalen Ramsey, I believe, will lock down on Gronkowski this week, and that means Gronk gets shut down. So if you have options, don't play him. And if you're playing a daily lineup, absolutely avoid him.
I would have loved to have heard that last week because I was playing against Gronk and he had a huge week. I think he was at 18 points against me or something.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it for us today. We've got all your fantasy advice here from, again, Adam Hill. You can give him a follow online at Adam HillLVRJ, at Ed Graney. I'm at Heidi Fang. And remember, if you need to keep up with anything NFL related, you can always check us out at reviewjournal.com. That's it for week 2. And we'll be back again next week with more fantasy advice for you from the Fantasy Outlaws. I'm Heidi Fang.